I think we're on. Welcome, everybody, to episode 24 of ZOOMCAST, Australia's fastest growing real estate ZOOMCAST. I'm Matt Grima, and geez, I keep saying it every single week. We've got a special guest in the building. He's a former champion jockey turned licensed estate agent in the last couple of years. By God, has he got a story or two to tell. I speak of the very funny and a good friend, Stephen Baster. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks for having me on.
Now, you've got the background looking beautiful on ZOOMCAST with some of your riding paraphernalia, I reckon.
Yeah, this bloke here was my very first Group 1 winner when I was a young fella, long time ago now. And this one here, that's only won a Group 2 race, but he's one of my favourite horses, a horse called La Rocket. But this one, Mukta, was basically got my career going back in 1993.
93. Good year if you're an Essendon fan, Steve. The Bombers saluted that year. We're not here to talk about footy. We're going to talk a little bit racing, and then we're going to transition beautifully, as you have done. As I said, a licensed estate agent doing some nice things down out of Marshall White's Mount Eliza, Mornington Peninsula Division. Steve, there'll be a lot of people that know you through racing circles. I think that's where your name comes from. I'm interested in the background and your career as a jockey. I mean, I'm going to be interested in that transition process, as I said, and what you're doing day to day as an agent. But, mate, 14-time Group 1 winner. You were no joke when it came to riding horses. You're one of the best to do it. And it really is a bit of a pleasure, to be honest, to have you on this humble little ZOOMCAST. But, mate, can you take the listeners back to your career as a jockey?
Yeah, Matty, I never really consider myself a good jockey. I just think I was a hard worker and a lot of luck being in the right place at the right time. And I was lucky that I enjoyed my fitness and always stayed pretty light. I'm 2 years out of the saddle now, and I'm still walking around pretty much the same weight as what I was when I was riding.
Which is what, Steve?
I'm about 54 and a half again now, but I'm training for a big cycling event in 3 weeks' time. So I'm probably a bit fitter now than what I normally am.
Good on you.
Yeah, so with the racing, I just worked hard, and I was lucky that I got on this bloke here early doors, and my boss looked after me. I think, being in the right place at the right time and meeting good people goes a long way to getting you a good career.
What's the industry like? Like from a guy, and I'll openly admit I'm a sports nut and enthusiast, but racing's not something I'm really up with apart from 4 weeks of the year like most people. But what is the industry like? Does it get a bad rap, or are there a couple of sharks in there that you got to watch out for?
I think it gets a bad rap, but it's, there's a lot of characters in racing, and because it's such a small industry, everybody hears everything about everybody. So there's rumours galore go around about a lot of things, and there's punting involved. So people always tell you about their wins, but probably not necessarily tell you about their losses.
Yeah.
But you meet a lot of good characters, and, there's people there that, are worth $2, and there's people there that are worth $2 billion, so it's you deal with all sorts, and it was an amazing sport for me, and gave me a great start to life. And I'm still president of the Jockeys Association now, so I obviously love racing.
I saw that sort of nice to still be involved. How do you get a start as a jockey? When do you say as a young fella, hey, this is what I'm going to do for a career?
It's extremely different now. Back when I started, I was just about to finish year 10. Everyone will get a laugh out of this. I think I was 28 kilos. So 28. Most people are that when they're about 5. So I was 14, 28 kilos, never touched a horse in my life, but loved animals.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone kept telling me I should be a jockey because I was so friggin' small. And so during the school holidays after year 10, I said to Mum, I'm off to the stables. I'll see, give it a try and see how it goes. And I just never went home. So it's
amazing.
It was a bit of luck.
No family connection to racing prior, or no uncle used to be a jockey. None of that story behind it.
Nobody in my family had anything to do with horses whatsoever. So it was a little bit freaky. But I mean, there's a few people in racing that have done that, and sometimes it's easy to train somebody that doesn't know anything about it to somebody that half knows something. So I guess I was coming in with a clean slate.
They say that about young real estate agents. Sometimes it's better to get them raw and train them in the right way, as opposed to having some preconceived ideas on how to do things and then the waters can get a little bit muddy.
Yeah, I think that's most things in life.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So talk me through the early stages of your career as a jockey. Is it important? I'd imagine it would be. Again, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it'd be important to get a good start from a career perspective as a jockey. Otherwise, you're not necessarily looked upon favourably for much longer.
I think it's a massive part, people's perception of you. Back when I was riding when I started in 1991, there wasn't as much coverage. So on a Saturday, you could go to a meeting up the bush and nobody would ever see it. So nobody could judge you. And I was lucky that my boss at the time, Mark Riley, had a lot of faith in me. I look back and watch the videos now and I shake my head because I was terrible. But I was on some fast horses and, and they won races. So it got me a good start and got me a good name. And that helped me a lot throughout the career. Yeah. Whereas there's probably a lot of blokes that could ride a lot better than me that didn't get the opportunity. So I'm thankful for the people that helped me right from the start.
Sounds like character is important, Steve. Your connection with people before you jumped on a horse is almost as important as what you did when you were on it to at least get the start. Would that be right?
Yeah, I guess in real estate terms, it's getting in the door and, showing them that you're keen and that you want to do it. It's and that you can do the job. I might not have been the best, but I got the job done.
Yeah, good on you. Geez, a hard worker on and off the field by the sounds of it. Can I ask you a question that might sound sacrilegious? So I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this or not, but I'm a bit of an F1 nut. I like the cars, and I always think, hey, what would happen if Lewis Hamilton jumped out of the Mercedes and he went into a Williams? Would he still perform as well as what he's doing? Well, clearly he's not going to perform as well because his car's not as good. But how good would he really be? Does the same rule apply in your world as a jockey? Is it all about getting the right horse, or is there a distinct difference between a really good jockey and your run-of-the-mill jockey?
So I guess there's two ways to answer this. Is the best jockey in the world can't win on a slow horse. They cannot make it run any faster.
Yep.
However, again, in every industry, that 1 or 2% difference makes you the champion. So it's a very fine line. I've heard people talk about, I can't remember, one of the tennis players, I think it was Roger Federer or something, improved 0.5%, and that made him go from being number 100 to number 1. It was that fine a line. So I look at some jockeys and I know they're champion jockeys just by watching them ride. They are champion jockeys, and you can tell that they've got something that I never had. There's blokes like James McDonald, Damien Oliver. I could leave people out because there's quite a few of them. Yeah. But a lot of the young blokes coming through, the Damien Lanes and things like that. There's some champion jockeys out there that have something that I don't think can be taught. I just think they're gifted.
Yeah, got it. So the separation is perhaps a bit of natural talent, but equally with the workload that they're putting in off track.
Yeah, it's I found racing, especially, I shouldn't say this now because I think I worked really hard in racing. It was quite long hours. I'd get up on a Tuesday morning and leave home at my alarm would go off at 2:50, and I'd get on my first horse at Flemington at 4:00 for Gay, and then I might have been finished by 7:00 in the morning or something, but I might have been riding at Bendigo that day. So instead of coming back to the Peninsula, I'd drive to Bendigo. I'd have a pillow in the car. I'd sleep in the car for a couple of hours.
Wow.
Might go for a run. And then I might be in race 1 and race 8. So I've got to spend another 6 hours at the races and then get home at 9:00 at night. So they could be long days and you work hard. So the young blokes coming through, that was one of the reasons why I gave it a miss in the end. They work so frigging hard and work long hours and they don't complain. They love their job and they're keen to do it. And that's why I thought with me transitioning from one career to the next, I'd be the young bloke in my new career because I'm keen and I love it, whereas some people might be getting sick of doing the late appointments or the early starts or whatever, which I'm back to enjoying it all again.
Yeah, you've got the foundation, that's for sure, and the discipline. So just transitioning skill set, I guess. But we'll get to real estate in a minute. Tell me, and obviously it can be a dangerous sport, riding horses, which we all know. But is the jockey fraternity one that's pretty tight knit and close, or are you genuinely looking at each other as a competitor on race day?
it's quite funny because we're all competing for the same job, so we're all fiercely competitive. We'll all knock each other down in a race quite happily, and put the other on the deck, which is probably life threatening, but we're competitive and we want to win. So it's all the friendships go out the window when you're on the horse. We had quite a few, I think everybody's reasonably good mates in the jockey's room at most of the time, but there's also a fair bit of fiery stuff goes on if somebody gets beaten a race and somebody cost him the race, or I'm sure we've all abused each other many times, but you get a pretty thick skin.
Yeah. Where does the heat and the pressure come from the most, Stevie? Is it the average punter? Is it the boss? Is it the trainer? Where does the heat come from?
So it comes from all of them things. Obviously, pressure. If you're not riding winners, you might have a run of 80 outs. Like imagine doing 80 listing appointments and not getting one of them. So that can happen, and the pressure builds. And one, you're not eating well because a lot of the time you're riding below a weight that you'd normally ride. So your brain doesn't. I can remember many times I'd get fried very easily because I wasn't eating that well, and you're under pressure. You get paid if you don't perform. So that's where the pressure cooker sort of sits in. I was lucky. There wasn't, I could probably think of one or two times in my career that I had that many outs.
Yeah.
But most of the time you'd probably ride a winner. I was probably averaging sort of 1 in 9 or 10.
Right.
But you could have some bad times.
Yeah. And you start to doubt yourself and question your own ability, or you're blaming, or not blaming, but maybe you are. Maybe you're blaming some of the outside factors, be it the horse you're on, the trainer you're with, the conditions you're in. I'm sure all of that plays on the mind at some stage.
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset. You start thinking, well, you can't win on slow ones. However, you'll find when you're riding well and you're confident and your mindset's good, you'll ride a lot more winners. Because the horses can feel it under you. People see that in your manner, so you get better rides, better quality rides. But you can just have bad luck, and sometimes you can be riding badly as well, and you've got to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and give yourself a kick up the arse.
Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same in listing appointments. You're absolutely right. Mate, I've got a couple. I want to hear some of the good stories, of course, in your time. Am I right in saying 28 years as a jockey? Is that the span?
Yep, 28 years.
Unbelievable, such a long time. And you might be loath to want to point out one or two of the best, but in your opinion, the best horse you ever rode?
That's a tough one. The horse, my last Group 1 winner was a horse called Pinot for Gay Waterhouse, and that was her last race start. She got crook in the paddock afterwards and never raced again. But she was a dead set star from the day one I rode her. I said to Gay, I think Gay had another one called Tuesday Joy that I compared her to. And I thought she could have been my Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup horse, definitely.
Steve, we've got a lot of questions about your racing career that I want to touch on. In no particular order, tell me about the best horse you ever rode. I know it'd be tough to only choose one.
Yeah, Matty, I rode a lot of good ones. I didn't ride any champions. I ran second to a few times, but little horse behind me, Mukhtar, he was obviously a star to me at the start. I won 2 Group 1s on him. But Pinot, that I won the Oaks on for Gay Waterhouse, sorry, probably must have been my last year of riding. She was a star, and that was her last race start. She got crook in the paddock afterwards and never raced again. But she could have been my Melbourne Cup, Caulfield Cup winner. She was a star from day one. I sort of said to Gabe, this is ours, this is our champion, and she half proved it. But other than that, I rode some great ones. I rode a horse called Lion Hunter, who never got to fulfil his full potential. I rode a little horse called Lay Beal that ran second in the Caulfield Cup, beaten a millimetre. And I look back now and I was so frustrated because a horse called Sky Heights beat me. And I never, ever give myself a rap, but I rode her really good this day. I got the best run. It might have been more good luck than good management, but I gave her a great run. And at the top of the straight, she sort of struggled up. Anyway, Sky Heights was on the inside. And I reckon I might have just got in front of him a touch. And then on the line, he fought back and beat me by a head. I think he was even money favourite or something. And she was 30, 40 to 1 in the Caulfield Cup. and the papers the next day and things saying, "Oh, Damien Oliver, how strong was he to the line?" And I went, "Ah." But anyway, I came back in, and I don't think I've ever got a louder cheer in my life for running second. The owners were so happy to run second. She was a champion. She was a champion in her own right,
Amazing. Hey, take me back behind the scenes. So when you do happen to win a big race or do something that was unexpected, what happens? Is it celebration time? Are you share with champagne, or are you straight back to work?
It depends on the time of year. Obviously, spring carnival time, if it's Derby Day and you've still got another 3 big days, you can't celebrate yet, because normally springtime I had to ride 52 kilos, so I'd have to be sort of around 51 walking around. So all it took was one big night and you were straight back to 54, 55, which for me, it wasn't a big deal. But some of the boys, I was definitely one of the smaller, luckier ones. Some of the boys really struggled with their weight, and, they'd lose 2-3 kilos the morning of a race, which I was blessed that I'd never really had to do. So I used to try and be dedicated over spring carnival time. But at the end of spring, we'd always have a little party and have a little play up and have a good time. So, and celebrate the wins. Even if it wasn't ours, some of the boys would have had some big wins. So, we'd go out and celebrate.
And the owners and connections of those horses that do well, I'd imagine they'd be happy to oblige and splash some cash around.
Yeah, yes and no. There's not as much of that these days, because the prize money's so good, and the jockeys get 5% of the prize money. So there's not so much of the cash thing goes on anymore. Yes, the owners like to go out and celebrate as well, because it's great, especially if they back them.
Yeah, of course.
So you'd get some owners that were really generous and really look after you. But we were getting paid for our job anyway,
Yeah. Mate, tell me, this might be a hard one to answer, but as a jockey who clearly has been working with a horse for a length of time prior to it actually running in a race, does much surprise you on race day, or do you ever sort of get the result that you might have expected coming through? Does a horse ever find something that it sort of you didn't necessarily think it had until it actually ran in the race, or is that gaga stuff?
No, it can happen. It can happen. So, how would I say this? So, some horses, they're just lazy track workers. They're not game day. They're not. They track work. You go around, you push them, and you go, well, hasn't got much. And then they'd get in a competitive situation with other horses around them, and all of a sudden, bang, they'd switch on. I've got a little share in one now called Call Sign Mav, who it just works terrible track work, and then he comes out race day and he's extremely competitive. So it's the pressure cooker can really make them switch on.
Yeah, amazing. How many people come up to you and say, Stevie, give us a tip, tell us who's going to win this and who's going to do that? Is that the main of your existence, or is it a bit of fun for you?
I do have a lot of that, and all I can say is basically for 28 years, my job was riding horses and making money out of a gambling industry. So I don't think too many people were winning.
Yeah, right.
Like I said, the punters normally tell you about their winnings, not their losers. So, and I have a punt now every now and then, and I'm not very good at it. I can promise you.
Amazing. Yeah, if anyone's going to know, it's you, but even you can't get it right, which makes me believe that maybe punting for something other than a bit of fun maybe is not the right answer. But
I do enjoy it. It is fun. I do enjoy having it for a bit of fun, but I only bet small.
Yeah. Good on you. Good on you. Mate, you're a husband, you're a dad of 2 girls, so Melissa, your wife, Izzy and Penny, 5 and 7 years old. Did the girls and the family get much involved in your racing career, or too young?
So my wife was a jockey as well. So we met at the Warrnambool Racing Carnival
right,
about 9 years ago or something now.
Yes.
And Melissa, she still rides a little bit of track work here and there now. One of the reasons I gave up riding was it's dangerous. It's a dangerous sport, and I know a lot of people that have been injured quite badly, and a few that have died doing the job. So I thought when I had the girls, it was probably time that I started thinking about everyone else and not just myself, even though I did enjoy doing it. Yeah. Mate, I hope my girls aren't jockeys. I would die.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you. Do you think they might follow in your mum and dad's footsteps?
Yeah, I hope not. We've got 2 horses in the front paddock here. Yeah. That the girls love. They haven't showed any interest in riding them yet, so I'm hoping they don't. I mean, I can't tell them no, don't do it, but I'd hate to think what my mum and dad went through watching me, because I had no fear.
Yeah.
And it'd be stressful watching them going around. It's a dangerous sport.
So I was going to say, you're not stressed by their ability or performance, given what Dad's done in the saddle for a long time. You're more concerned about their safety and well-being?
Yeah, look, it only takes one fall.
Yeah.
I got through it relatively unscathed. I say to people, I broke my jaw, I broke both my wrists, I got a knee clean out, I broke one of my feet in 2 places, and I was lucky, so I got out of it really, really well, whereas a lot of people, one of my best mates just sent me a photo the other day. He was getting airlifted out of a race course, and he was on his way to the Alfred, and
Jeez.
And, your phone shows your memories 5 years ago. Same photo popped up, same bloke, neck brace, on his way to hospital in an ambulance. And I said to him, maybe it's time to start thinking about a new job.
Gee whiz, yeah, mate, perhaps. Do you miss it, mate? Do you miss the cut and thrust of it all?
Not really, because I've found real estate, getting a good price for our vendors. I really enjoy the back and forth, and that gives me a bit of a thrill now. Trying to get every dollar I can. So, especially when it's not going to 10 years time, the person's house is going to be worth double anyway. So it's I enjoy the competitive edge like that now. That's and racing. 28 years of it was enough.
You had a good run. Mate, you transitioned beautifully, or you segued beautifully into part 2 of the interview, which is Stevie Baster, the licensed estate agent, doing some beautiful things down at Marshall White's Mount Eliza office. Steve, I reckon, and I don't know, you see a lot of former athletes and people that are connected to sport and just have competitive juices, male and female, of course, getting into real estate, because it does provide that hunger and competition, and you're often up against 1 or 2 or 3 different estate agencies to win the business, and then you've got a sense of pride to be able to do the right thing by the client that's invested in you to do so. So that can tick the competitive box. But take me back to the start of Stevie Baster, the real estate agent. How did you navigate through hey, mate, I think you're a really good jockey, but I'm not quite sure you know what you're doing from a selling my house perspective? How did that all work?
Yeah, so I caught up with Jack Bongiorno about 5-6 years ago now, and he likes his horses. So
it wasn't connected to racing by any chance, was it?
Yeah, and he said, it'd be a good job for me, and he said, but you got to realise you'll be starting at the bottom of the queue, obviously.
Yeah.
And you got to do your time, because you're going to be known as the jockey, not as the real estate agent. So I did find that. I found that the first year, and one of my mates sold his place. We weren't close, but he sold his place and went with someone else. And it kicks you in the guts a bit. You think, oh wow, But I must admit, in this past sort of 4 or 5 months, I've been getting a lot of phone calls from people in the racing industry that know that I've been doing well in real estate, and they're ringing me for advice, and things have turned a little bit. So it's going really well now. It's great to have them connections. Great to have the connections.
Good on you. And how are you going specifically down with the Marshall White brand? Obviously a relatively new brand in that part of the world, certainly a well-known brand everywhere else in Melbourne's East. But how have you settled into that particular office environment?
Yeah, really well. So I worked for another agency for the first year that's a local agency down here and does quite well. Obviously when Marshall White came about, and I spoke to JT and Jack, and look, I jumped at the opportunity. Different ballpark. I tell people it's like Bunnings coming to town. Here we go. I just think the reach, the majority of people that I deal with in some of the higher end homes, they all know Marshall White, because they've all got houses in town as well. So I think it's a massive advantage to have the Marshall White brand behind me. I think it helps me a lot in my listing presentations. Helps me a lot if I can grab one of the directors and bring them in with me as well. It helped me an awful lot. And I think if I was still with the brand I was with earlier, I wouldn't have done as well as what I have.
Yeah, well said. You're a beautiful speaker. Tell me, what are some things in the industry that might surprise you? So being in it versus not being in it as an estate agent, and what are some things that you thought, I expected that coming in?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
So, for example, did you anticipate that the work ethic needed and the hours that you were going to work were as hard or as long as they are? I reckon that's perhaps a misconception from those that aren't in the industry, that only figure it out once they become an agent, that it can be all encompassing and all consuming.
Yeah, look, I was aware of that. I was aware of that. People said to me, it's pretty funny. People go, "Oh, leg your Saturdays." And I go, "Well, I've never had a Saturday in my life."
You've been
You know,
working pretty hard on Saturdays.
I'm wrapped if I get half a Sunday off, So, look, that was never a concern for me, and I fully expected that. And I don't find it hard to talk to people on the phone. Yes, at some stages, your wife gives you a dirty look, so you got to turn your phone off, because I think we all get a bit carried away and want to answer the phone 24/7. I'm not quite as reactive as what I used to be. Maybe a year ago, I'd be straight on the phone and answering every single inquiry I got.
Yep.
Because you're excited to get an inquiry. Whereas things now, I plan my day a bit better. JT talks about planning your day and not just jumping on things, and that's helped me a lot. One of the things that did surprise me, though, in real estate that caught me by surprise was vendors' expectations. I'll still remember I got a listing off somebody that another agent had for quite a while, and they were trying to sell, and I think they got offered 2.3 with the other agent, and they wouldn't take it, and we ended up taking it over, and we put it on 2.4 to 2.6. Anyway, I got an offer of 2.5, and I was so excited, and I went around there and told them, and they just went, "No, it's not enough."
Oh.
I just went, lesson learnt.
Yeah.
Lesson learnt. I just jumped on it too quick, got too excited, and we ended up getting the deal done. But made me, I've got to think about things more before I go and present. But
Stevie, tell me, the Peninsula market, all markets have sort of gone from strength to strength, which is kind of weird to say, despite the global pandemic that's been around for the last couple of years. A lot of people packed up in Melbourne, and they wanted to get out, and they wanted to leave town. And funnily enough, they wanted to come down your way. The Peninsula market in particular has absolutely boomed. What are you seeing down there? And are you surprised with how quickly she shot up?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised, but I guess it's like everybody. I bought down here 7-8 years ago, and I look back now, and I thought I was paying a lot to them. I thought I was paying too much, but now I look back and think, lucky I did, because I wouldn't have been able to afford now. But yeah, look, a lot of people have come from down your way, downtown, because it's so expensive down there. And then they come up here and they can see how much land they can get, great lifestyle, great restaurants, great beaches, great vineyards. We're blessed down here. We've got everything, so it's a great place to live. And I moved here because I wanted my children to grow up in a beautiful area. And I feel like we're blessed, and the rest of the world's finally realising how good we've got it down here.
Have you got too many inner city Melburnians that have come and stuffed it up for you, or is it still nice down there?
Nah, the more the merrier.
More the merrier.
Yeah, it's good. It's good down here.
Good on you. Good on you. And what are you seeing from a market perspective now that and I appreciate COVID is still very much in existence, and I think it still will be for a long time. But are you seeing it cool off a little bit, or are you still seeing some genuine demand from people in inner Melbourne wanting to secure a property down there?
I'm still seeing really strong interest. Like, the market's still moving. Obviously, before Christmas, everyone got a little bit panicky because it quietened down, even though it quietens down every Christmas.
Yeah.
We all thought it's finally, it's finally hit the top. It's gonna settle. But the start of this year's been amazing. We've set record prices in a couple of different areas since we've been back, and properties have sold well above where I expected and where the vendors expected. So at this stage, the market's getting stronger and stronger, and I don't really want it to stop, Matty. But I'm sure it will at some. I'm sure it will at some stage. It'll level out. But there's more and more appetite for lifestyle properties down here.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like it, Stevie? Is it a career that you can see yourself doing for a long period of time? It seems like you've really got your tentacles in that Peninsula market, and a lot of people are now seeing what Stevie Baster can do as an estate agent.
Yeah, this will be my last career, Matty. I'm settled in, and we've got a great team down here, and they're getting stronger and stronger. Our brand down here is getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully we'll continue that way. And I don't see why it wouldn't. I think we've got a lot of advantages over the other agents down here. So I think Marshall White brand will get stronger, and I'm glad that I've been a part of that since day one down here.
Yeah, good on you. Good on you. And in the scoop, particularly during the Spring Carnival, our man, Mr. Bongiorno, gives out some of his racing tips. And to be quite honest, they're not very good. Stevie, can you look at taking over that column at some stage, please, and put some punting prowess in for the Marshall White family?
I don't think there's any such thing as a good tipster. So pick your favourite colour, I say.
Mate, you've been a joy. I really appreciate you giving up time. We're after hours here. You're a busy man. As I said, you're a dad of a couple of girls and a hubby, and you're a bloody successful estate agent doing some nice things down the peninsula. So thanks for giving us a bit of time today on ZOOMCAST. This will be available on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, my social media, and no doubt Steve will get you to share it with some of your followers. I reckon some people would have got a kick about hearing about your illustrious riding career and how hard of a worker you were on the track. And I could see it as a peer and a colleague for what you're doing from a day-to-day work perspective in real estate. So may continue, Stephen. Thanks again for giving us some time tonight.
No, thanks for your time, Matty. I really appreciate you having me on.
Good on you. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye, mate.